everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Healthy Blogging. I'm your host, Jared Morris. I wasn't a big fan of the background that I used yesterday, which was actually in my office, and so you can see the blinds behind me. So I actually decided for this morning's episode to head into our sound studio, where you can see we have these pieces of foam behind me that are up on the wall that deaden the sound. So I'm hoping it not only improves the audio, but I thought that the visual image of those ominous little spikes coming down over my shoulders was a little bit more interesting than the blinds. So we'll see how well this one works out. But for today's episode, I want to talk briefly about SEO. And if you don't know what SEO stands for, it stands for Search Engine Optimization. And it's a way to optimize your blog post to maximize traffic from search engines. And it's something that I've been doing now for about 3 years with the company that I work for. And it's a term that when people hear it, a lot of times they're not exactly sure what to think. They're not sure if it's just kind of this kind of black magic, that companies like mine do. They think that it's some real complicated set of steps and coding and all these different things. And like anything, there are advanced strategies of SEO that are very in-depth, very complicated, can be time-consuming and costly. But ultimately, SEO is simple. And it's a set of very simple concepts that essentially boil down to telling a search engine very clearly and in as many ways as you can what your page is about. And the more ways that you can do that, the easier it's going to be for the search engine to figure out what kind of search terms your page is relevant for, and then surface your page when there are relevant searches for those terms. So, what I want to talk about today is just one of those very simple strategies, which is the title of your page. And I think it's an often overlooked area of SEO that is almost so simple. I think sometimes people don't realize how important it is. But there's something on every page that are called meta tags. And one of the most important meta tags from an SEO perspective is the title tag. And essentially it's just telling the search engine the main idea, the main keywords of your post. What is your post about? What is the main idea that your post should be relevant for? And the title tag can differ from the actual title on the page that a user sees, okay? And a lot of times, you want the title on your page to be catchy, to be something interesting that is going to drive a click-through. But that might not always be the best way to optimize it from a keyword perspective for SEO. And so there are actually tools, and I'm going to talk about one with WordPress, that actually allow you to dictate a different SEO title for your page than the page title that the user sees. And this can be a very, very important tool that can allow you to both have an interesting title on the page for your users, and then also have a more descriptive, a more keyword relevant title for the search engines. And so as I did in episode 1, I think one of the easiest ways for me to illustrate this is actually going to be with a screencast. And so I shot a screencast earlier, and we'll go to that now.
Okay,
just to give you a real
if you're new to SEO, let's start out with just a real quick review of the difference between a page title and an SEO title. And the site that you're looking at right here is MSF Fantasy Sports. As you know, I dabble in a little bit of fantasy sports advice. And so this is the website where I keep all of that advice. And we're going to look at this post right here, which is tip of the day, hit the waiver wire for Mark Clayton. He's a receiver from the Rams. He's a hot pickup for week 2. And so I wrote this article basically giving people my projection for Clayton and whether they should pick him up. And this title, tip of the day, this is something that that I try to use consistently so that when readers are there, they see, tip of the day, let me go check it out. They know that it's going to be a short, quick, concise post. It's going to be about one player. And it's going to give them some actionable advice that they can use right away. Okay, so let's click on that. And I'm using Firefox. And if you use Firefox or Safari, and a lot of browsers do this, up at the top, you see there is a title here. Okay, and this title is dictated from that SEO title tag, that meta tag that I just told you about before. And so you can see here, the title says, Mark Clayton Fantasy, Rams wide receiver Clayton, a prime waiver wire pickup. Well, that's different from the title on the page, right, which says, tip of the day, hit the waiver wire for Mark Clayton. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that this SEO title is much more keyword relevant, okay? And you can see right off the bat, my most important keywords are right up front, Mark Clayton Fantasy, okay? And why is that? Well, from experience, I know that when people are looking for information on a specific player, a lot of times they type in that player's name and the word fantasy, right? I mean, that's what I do when I'm looking for information on a player. And if we do this and we look at it in Google, you'll see that actually Midwest Sports Fans comes up on the front page. Okay, and this is actually a post from actual Midwest Sports Fans, not the fantasy site, because I posted it on both places. Okay, Midwest Sports Fans a little bit stronger in the search engines right now, so it surfaces better. So you can see that that pops up, right? And, not only did I get this term fantasy in there, but I also got some other terms in there. Clayton, a prime waiver wire pickup. If you look on the actual Midwest Sports Fans post, I switched up the keywords a little bit so I could kind of spread it out a little bit more. Mark Clayton, waiver wire pickup for week 2, fantasy football. And so if I type in terms like Mark Clayton week 2, you can see the Google News result for Midwest Sports Fans, number 1. The regular result right there at number 3. If we look at Mark Clayton waiver wire, you can see, I've got the top 2 hits right there. The reason why is because I was very, very clear to the search engines what this post was about. And I was clear with my title tag. This post and the one on Midwest Sports Fans, they're about Mark Clayton, fantasy football information for week 2 and why he's a waiver wire pickup. Okay? But as we look at the difference between the SEO tag, the SEO title, and the page title, the difference is this SEO title, I think the premium here is going to be on keywords and keyword relevance. So you want to get your most important keywords right up there at the beginning. You still need it to be actionable, right? So Mark Clayton fantasy, Rams wide receiver Clayton, a prime waiver wire pickup. So people, when they see that title on the page, they know they're going to get some information they can do something with, right? So even the Midwest Sports Fans result, where I just have his name, Mark Clayton, then waiver wire pickup for week 2, fantasy football. It's very short, it's simple, it tells people what it's about, but if they're looking for this information, that's going to drive a click-through, which is good. Now, it's not quite as actionable as this title, which is Tip of the Day, Hit the Waiver Wire from Mark Clayton, which is very specific, very relevant for this site because, as you can see, I have these tips of the day. If we look at the category page, so there are multiples of these, right? So, fantasy football tip of the day. So people know when they see that this is coming. So the page title, there's a premium on this word tip of the day, but no one's searching on Mark Clayton tip of the day. That's irrelevant from an SEO perspective, and that's why it's so important that I have this option here. This is the post-edit page for WordPress, and I have this Platinum SEO Pack option that gives me the ability to dictate a different SEO title from the page title. You can see, here's the SEO title, Mark Clayton Fantasy, Rams wide receiver Clayton, a prime waiver wire pickup, and then we have the page title right here. So, tip of the day, hit the waiver wire from Mark Clayton, because a lot of times you're going to want to tell the search engine something a little bit different than what you tell your readers in terms of what is this post about, what is this relevant for, okay? Sometimes it'll be the same, a lot of times it'll be different, and that's where, if you have a tool like Platinum SEO Pack or All-in-One SEO Pack for WordPress, and, I don't, use Drupal and Blogger and any of these other services, but I'm sure they have something that allows you to do this. This is where you can really add some enhancements to your SEO while not taking anything away from the reader experience. Because I know sometimes people think, oh, SEO, I have to put, keywords every other sentence and, use these, keyword stuff titles, and you don't. If you do SEO the right way, your readers will never even really know that the page is optimized for a search engine, as opposed to them. Because what you want to do is you want to optimize it for both. And being able to have a different SEO title from your page title allows you to do that. So that is our very quick review, our quick lesson on the difference between SEO titles and page titles. And tune in for the next episode of Healthy Blogging. Thank you.